Lonnie Scott is the communications director with the Action of Michigan, a grassroots movement of over 150 organizations calling for the end altogether of the Bush-era tax cuts for wealthiest Americans and others. He's on the line with us this morning. Lonnie, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, okay, lay out your vision of what taxes should be here, and then we'll discuss, compare, and then there'll be a test at the end.
Well, I hope I'm prepared. We believed that the president's threshold of $250,000 was the ideal goal, but we're certainly happy with the outcome from the Fiscal Cliff deal that was reached the other night by Congress, which permanently extends the Bush tax cuts for incomes below $400,000 for individuals and $450,000 for families, which will also take us back to the rates during the Clinton era for all others at 39.6%. So everyone here in the state of Michigan will get the same tax breaks up to $450,000 for families. And then those above that level are the ones who will see a tax increase.
You know, ironically, Lonnie, I thought that what was passed a couple of days ago was a piece of garbage. Well, you know, I'm going to tell you why. And I understand extending the tax cuts for most people in this country. 2% of the country will probably end up paying more. But there are no cuts in spending anywhere. $15 billion in cuts total. I think it was great politics for the president and lousy policy.
Well, it's one of those things. I don't think it was perfect on either side. I think you'll find that Republicans are angry in a lot of ways, and that Democrats are angry in a lot of other ways. But I think that the president laid out that we've had this discussion before about cuts. When we were doing the debt ceiling negotiations, the previous year, there was approximately $1.7 trillion in spending cuts, with cuts to Medicare through the Affordable Care Act. So it didn't affect beneficiaries, but was still a cut to the program by placing caps on programs such as defense and education spending. So I think that there have been some cuts. I mean, if you look at the numbers actually to what happened during that first debt ceiling debate compared to what happened this past week.
Yeah, but see, cuts, hold on. See, you see, cuts would actually result in the debt going down. Actual cuts, real cuts to entitlements and other programs, be it defense, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, whatever, would actually result in reducing the debt. None of that has happened.
Right. Certainly, you would hope that we would get to that place. I think that there's again, this was a bill that was a compromise that I don't think everyone likes all parts of it. So, I believe that is the overall goal, and I think that we have a lot of other issues that we have to tackle. I think that you'll see a lot of that take place during the next Fiscal Cliff debate. And certainly, Steve, let me be clear that I know that we all hoped that this would just be taken care of with one big bill. One grand bargain, so to speak, as it's been called, that took care of all of the deficit reduction questions, that took care of the fiscal cliff, that took care of the debt ceiling negotiations. But what we saw is that, as they have in the past, this Congress, I believe the 112th Congress, was probably one of the most do-nothing Congresses we've ever had. And what we saw was that the GOP leadership in the House was not willing to put forward those types of bills. They weren't willing to do that kind of discussion and to really make those changes. I mean, the president put forward some things that I think he would tell you, and that certainly other Democrats would say, should not have ever been on the table. He was the first one to suggest the $400,000 level as opposed to $250,000. In the original negotiations, his second offer also included what's called change CPI, which is a major change to Social Security funding, something that the Republicans had been fighting for. But John Boehner decided that instead of going with that, he was going to go with Plan B that he couldn't even pass through the House, and that wasted a lot of time. So, it's certainly not perfect. The bill that went through was certainly not perfect, but I do believe it's a step in the right direction.
Well, time will tell, because they said that they would put the spending reductions will be their next discussion. Back to Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan. I'm sorry, I don't believe them for 1 second, because a lot of promises are made by Democrats to cut spending, and it never, ever happens. It always gets pushed down, pushed away. At some point, there's a point of no return I don't know if it's $20 trillion in debt, but it comes somewhere, Lonnie. You know that. Anyhow, Lonnie Scott, we appreciate your time this morning, Communications Director for the Action of Michigan. Thanks for being on Michigan's Morning Show.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.